Welcome back to First Light, where we illuminate the stories of those who've turned their passion into purpose and continue to inspire others along the way. I'm your host, Chris Keller, and today we have a very special guest, someone who embodies resilience, determination, and the power of staying true to yourself. Mark Murphy, a professional golfer, Big Break Ireland champion, and all-around inspiring individual, joins us today to share his journey on and off the course. We'll be talking about everything from mental toughness required to compete at the highest levels to the lessons he's learned through challenges, victories, and the unpredictable nature of life as a pro golfer. Mark, welcome to the show. Mark, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on First Light. I want to start with allowing you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about what inspired you to pursue golf professionally, and really, how did you first fall in love with the game?
Yeah, I grew up in a small little town in Ireland called Waterville. It's the southwest corner of the country. There wasn't a whole lot to do there, to be totally honest. We didn't have much. Great town. I miss it. I wish I could have my daughter experience how I grew up. We had football, which was our own national sport, and we had golf. They were the two things, and we went with either or. So I played soccer forever, loved it, and I knew I was never good enough to give that a shot. And my dad was a wonderful golfer. That's where I learned my trade as such. I watched him, I played golf with him, but I never really got into it until I was about 16 years old when soccer wasn't for me. So I said, I'll give golf a shot. So I remember it was probably 15 I started. I was 16 handicap on my 16th birthday, and then I was +1 on my 18th birthday. So I lived there, literally lived there. Greatest days of my life, there's no doubt. Me and my buddy used to cycle back. I used to have to cycle past his house. 6 o'clock in the morning, we'd go to the golf course, and my mother wouldn't see me till dinner time. It was, in hindsight, it was an amazing, incredible experience to grow up that way in one of the best golf courses on the planet. And I did that forever. And, it brought me to America for golf, and then I suppose never went back and went home for visits. But when it comes to golf, this is a country where you have to be. There's no doubt, because of the weather, because of the experiences, because of the opportunities it gives you here. And for me, that's why I inevitably stopped here in Jupiter and I've never left.
Well, let's talk about those early years of learning the trade, because golf is a tough sport.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people try, but very few actually get to that level of being a professional golfer. So take us through those early years and learn how to play golf, and then ultimately, making it on the professional tour.
Yeah. Like I said, I go back to my dad. It was all my dad. He loved sport. I have 3 sisters, so I was kind of, as my grandmother used to call me, the rose among thorns, which they loved that, of course. But my dad was always, every Sunday he used to play in a tournament, and I'd go out with him and I caddied for him to start off, and then I got into it, and I gradually got so much better over the years. It was kind of like something I went with, put it under my arm, and I was gone. And he always encouraged me. He never, always gave me new clubs and always gave me something to keep me driving towards success. And, as an amateur, I was okay. I wouldn't say I was a great player. One year, I don't know, maybe 2000, I was beaten in the final of the West of Ireland. I was beaten in the playoff for the East of Ireland. I made the cut in the Irish Open as an amateur, and back then amateurs weren't winning them. They were I was the first amateur to make the cut in 15 years in the Irish Open, so that was a big deal. Now it's not a big deal. They're so good. It's incredible. But for me, I loved the game. I fell in love with it, and then it was gradually, as I caddied and I played, I met Fluff Cowan, who caddied for Tiger Woods at the time, and then I became friends with him. And then when I came to America, he introduced me to Tiger Woods, and I spent a week in Pebble Beach with Tiger Woods playing in the event. And for me, from a small town in Ireland to be hanging out with the number 1 golfer in the world, I was pinching myself. I was like, what is going on here? How has this happened? But it is, for anybody that listens to your podcast, golf is a huge, it can move mountains. Everybody, when you get older, you can play golf up until you're 80, 90 years old. You know what I mean? Once you can stay healthy. So for people that are trying to find a sport, now I'm not dishing any of the other sports, but like pickleball, are you serious? Like that's one way of injuring yourself. Like you can go out and have a leisurely round of golf with your buddies, drink beer, have a good time if that's what you feel like you want to do, or get as professional or as give it as much as you want. And that's, you know, I'm a coach too, and what you give is what you get. And you know, for me, having, you know, to sit here and to look at my career in golf, I never had the drive that I needed. I never, like when I speak with people now and they're, oh, my son is a great player and he's this and he's that. And I said, how, you know, I'm going to tell you the truth. If you don't work, if you're not this high going into the professional ranks, you haven't got a whole lot of chance of doing anything in there. I mean, they're so good now and they're so everything. They're so regimented. It's just like it like back in the day when I played, it was a job, but it wasn't like it is now. Tiger changed the whole face of golf, and you know, you need to be bulked up, you need to hit it over 300 yards every single time or you've got no chance. And that's pretty much why when I did move to America and then I met my wife and we had a little girl, I was like, yeah, I'm done with this game. Because also I played golf with Brooks Koepka, I played golf with Rory, McIlroy, just in, you know, in casual games, and I was looking at them going, I mean, I got no prayer. Like, it's like, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I knew, you know. So then I moved into the coaching side of it, and I went into golf travel, and I went into 100 other things with golf. So I never moved away from golf, you know.
Let's talk about some wins. I know you said you had some losses, but you had some wins too. I know you won Big Break Ireland. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, what you learned in winning, but also what you learned in defeat.
Yeah, I was a huge underachiever. I never really won anything at golf, I swear. Like, I'd win small events, but never. But then again, I'd never really go out and miss too many cuts. I was a decent player, you know, decent. I'd give myself a 6 out of 10. You know, when you see the guys now, if you can't hit it a long way and you can't shoot 62 once in a while, you can't win. And that's why these guys do what they do. You know what I mean? They you know, so Big Break came up. I was working with this guy called Terry Prilliman. He owns a company called Galway Bay Apparel. It was like a rain suit company. And we were in Tampa, and next thing I get a phone call from one of the owners of Waterville Golf Course saying, hey, they're going to do, you shouldn't know this, but they're doing a Big Break Ireland event, and they're looking for an Irish ambassador to play. He said, I told him, you've got to go. So I was like, okay. And he's like, they'll do an interview today in Orlando if you can get over there by 1:30. So I'm like in a pair of shorts and a T-shirt, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. So I said it to Terry, and Terry said, oh yeah, we'll be there, don't worry. So we drive over to Orlando. I go into Nike, I buy shoes, socks, you name it, everything Nike. I looked like Tiger going for the interview. So I'm thinking I'm going to the Golf Channel. I never knew anything much about the Golf Channel, thinking I was going to see this huge, big, you know, arena to go in and do it. It was a small little prefab, and that's where they did the interview. And I went in with I didn't care. I watched Big Break maybe once or twice. I went in going, I don't really care whether I get on it or not. It doesn't really matter to me. You know what I'm saying? And I was myself, and I got picked. So it was 11 plus me went to Ireland. Like, I was the only person that knew it wasn't going to be on in Ireland, because it was a surprise for everybody else. And we met at Newark Airport. We all flew back. There was 6 men and 6 women, and it was kind of like a reality TV show for golf. That's pretty much how you put it. So there was all sorts of skills and different stuff going on. And you know, you talk about mental. I think that was the first time in my career as a golfer that I felt like I had that mental edge over anybody. You know, having watched Tiger when I caddied on tour for Rocco Mediate, having watched Tiger, how he was always one step ahead. He always thought he was better than everybody else. You know, when you'd hit balls on the range, Tiger would always move up ahead of everybody so that everybody on the range could see him. Mind games. It was awesome to watch, you know. And same thing for me when I went to Ireland. I said, mentally, I can win this because I'm going to sell them on, hey, I grew up here. I love this weather. I love everything about Ireland. I love the golf course. I grew up on this golf course. They didn't know anything. So every morning we'd get up in the morning, and one morning we woke up and the flag was bending we were looking out the window and the flag was bending in the green, literally blowing 80 miles an hour. And I was like, oh, I can't wait. This is what I grew up in. So I had that little edge because everybody thought, oh, we got to watch this guy. So what happened was they had an event every day. So there was 6 in one team and 6 in the other team. And what we'd do is we'd have a match against that team. And if the losing team, the team captain had to be selected for the day. If the losing captain was on the losing team that day, they had to pick somebody on the team. So I was thinking to myself, they're not going to pick me because I'm going to, oh my God, I love Ireland. I love this weather. You know what I'm saying? So it worked out amazing for me in the end. And I eventually won it. I beat Julian, a Canadian, in the 18-hole final. And I had not been playing competitively, really. I went into the golf travel business. And when they brought me on this show, I made like over 100 grand. And I'm like, okay, back into the golf business, back playing again. So, but as you can imagine, 100 grand, believe it or not, doesn't last you very long when you're traveling and doing all over the world, you know. And that's pretty much, if you don't get sponsored or you don't have somebody that really supports or plays golf with you that thinks you have what it takes, you're wasting your time, because it's just, you know how much it costs to travel anywhere. Rental car, hotel, caddy. If you have an agent, you got to pay him. You got to pay. You know, it's just it's a lot. And you know, everybody sees the glamour of golf, and you know, they sit in their couch and they think they know what they're talking about, and they have zero idea, literally zero, because there's so much that goes with it. You know, the mental side of it. You talk about mental. You talk about your journey, your story. You know, you wake up one morning and it's you know, hey, I'm changing my ways. You know, and it is the way, and that's it. And if you're not mentally strong, you're never doing it. You're weak. You know, you told me a story, you know, about having a beer. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. You have to be mentally strong, and it only takes you to let your guard down for a second, and you're gone. And it's like anything. It's like I say to people all the time, like you can ruin your life in 15 seconds, and then you know, you can be the nicest man, nicest person in the world. You have a couple of drinks, you get in a car, and your life is over. And it's crazy. And that's why it's so... You can't let your guard down as a human being anymore, because there's so much that can ruin your life. And that, for me, is where I have grown as a person. I don't... You know, I think having a child changes a lot of your perspectives in life also. A lot of the small things don't bother you as much. So for me, back to golf, it's like, for me, it's just a part-time fun thing now where... You know, I love playing, I enjoy teaching, I enjoy fitting, I enjoy going to Ireland, showing people what I... Like, going to Ireland on a golf trip with me is a different gravy, because I know all that spots, I know all the best places to eat, and, you know, the bars to go into and have drinks and listen to the best Irish music, and that's probably, you know, it's a lot of fun in Ireland, as you can imagine. So it's like you bringing me to your hometown, you're going to know where to eat, where to drink, and that's pretty much why... You know, we run our business on the knowledge of knowing the country inside out, you know.
You talked about a lot there that I want to unpack. So let's start with the mental discipline. So I know we've talked about you coach now, and I know you were telling me a story about, one of your students. But golf is really that mental game. It's about discipline. It's consistency, right? Mm-hmm. And so talk to us about when you're teaching now golf, about the mental toughness that you're teaching, the discipline that you're teaching, the consistency you're teaching, those lessons that you're imparting on your students.
Yeah, I feel like it's easy for me to teach now because I have learned from my own mistakes, if that makes sense to you. Nobody wants to hear you whining about how you're playing. Nobody wants to hear anything about negative. So, you know, I have a kid that I work with in Boston who called me up, or his dad called me and said he's lost. He's going for varsity tomorrow. He's lost. He's all down on himself. So I called him up and I said, like, what's wrong? Oh, I'm hitting it terrible. I'm not going to be able. And I said, I'm going to hang the phone up, and I want you to find a way, somehow. Go back to wherever you were, that you knew that things were going well for you, and find a way to get it. So he went to bed at night. He woke up in the morning. He called me again, and he said, you know, blah, blah, blah. He sounded like he was in great form. His dad texted me, said, whatever you said to him. And he went out and he shot the best round of his life the next day. The day before, he had nothing. But it felt like I chastised him. That's what I felt like. And I apologized to his dad, but I said he needed it. You know, you're never going to listen to your dad. It's just the way it is. Like when people ask me to teach their sons or daughters, I don't want their parents there because they're always, hey, Mom, did you see that? You know, I go to watch my daughter who does 16 hours of gymnastics, you know, and you sit there for 4 hours and you're not going to be watching her for the whole 4 hours, but she'll come down and say, you're not even watching. And you're not like, no, I'm not. I tell the truth. I can't watch you for 4 solid hours. I'll lose my mind, you know, and that's same with golf. And people, you have to stay disciplined. Like, and you know, like I get messages from people. They say, oh, my son is going to go, he's really going to go on the PGA Tour, you know, he's all the backing he needs. What do you think he should do? And I said, well, has he won anything? No, but he's come close. Okay, learn how to win. Okay, learn how to win. Why did Tiger Woods win all those times? Why did he feel like he was better than everybody else? Number one, he was better than them all, but mentally he knew that when he went out on the golf course that he was better than them all. It's like anything. It's like anything in sport. If you think that you've got an edge on a person, well, you really do. If you mentally think that you are better than the next person, you have a great edge on them. Would you agree with that? 100%. So, like, I just try and tell my students, you know, everybody has different pressure in life, whether it being what you do for a living, golf. Like, if you're a good golfer and you're trying to win as an 18 handicapper, the club champion, that's going to be the same pressure that I'm going to feel as if I'm playing in a big professional event that I'm trying to win. That's the same pressure that he's feeling that I'm feeling. So I just try and, you know, one of the best lines I ever got as a golfer was from Dr. Bob Winters, a sports psychologist. 1 + 1 until you're done. It's great. Like, and it's something so simple and silly, really, but it is. So you can't go back. So Rocco was playing this week. I texted him and he was in like 5th position or something. And I said, man, you're a great round today. You're doing great. Come on now and win this. And he said it to me all the time. Since I know him 25 years, I just got to hit the first fairway and go from there. And it's a great mentality. You know, if you're thinking ahead and you're thinking, oh, geez, I need to shoot. That's why I say to a lot of my students, what are you looking to shoot tomorrow? They shouldn't. And I'm hoping that they'll tell me, oh, I'm hoping to shoot less than 100. I don't want you to shoot less than 100. I want you to hit every shot as best you can and then count them at the end. Like the best round I ever shot was 61 and I never knew I didn't know I shot it because I wasn't mentally not writing it down, watching what I was doing, because once you start adding up the circles you're like, whoa, you know. And there was an event in Ireland, actually it was actually the day that I first met my wife, Mount Woolsey, and we had talked online for 6 months and I invited her to Ireland. She lived here and I lived in Ireland, and I made the cut on the number and she was flying in, so I was kind of like, you know, I wasn't worried whether I made the cut or I didn't make the cut because I was going to go see her. I shot 8 under in the front 9. I birdied the first 8 of the first 9 holes. Didn't even know it. So I went from last position in the tournament to first position. So all the cameras started coming out, you know, because this guy's on fire. And then I made double and all cameras went away again. But like, yeah, and for me, it's golf, no matter what anybody tells you, it's definitely more mental than it is physical.
Let's talk about caddying for Rocco. What was that like for you as an experience in your life, and what did you learn from that, or what did that teach you?
It was easy. You know, it's like going on the road with your best friend. You know, we had a great time together. It definitely helped me. I remember one story, maybe 2000 or 2002. He was leading the Masters, going into the back 9 on Sunday, and took a 10 on the 12th, which is a dirty little hole, about 145 yards. You know, it's kind of like water in front, bunker at the back. And he was leading the Masters, and I'm thinking to myself, once again, my brain was, he's going to win the Masters, the green jacket, and I'm going to be here for it. And I was standing right behind it. Every ball he hit into the water, and I was, you know, nauseous. And he came in, and we got in the car, and he said, sorry, guys. And I never heard him talk one more word about that Masters ever again. And that's the beauty of sport and being mentally tough at what you do. You know, you just coughed up. Well, I won't say coughed up because that's a rough word to say, but you just lost the Augusta, which is, I don't care what anybody says, Augusta's where it's at. If you give anybody in the world a tournament they'd want to win, it would be Augusta, for sure. And he had the chance of doing it, and now it's gone, and he said, "I'm sorry," and that was the last time I ever heard of him. And that's the beauty of being mentally tough. You know, there's a story I heard years ago about when Tiger was the number one player in the world at, he was playing at Bay Hill, and he was playing with a guy called, I don't know, was it Ian Leggett or Dan Leggett? It just lives in my head, this story. And seemingly there was a rain delay, and they went in and they came back out, and Tiger like stands on 16 or something and blows it out of bounds, hits it on the fairway, makes 6, and hits a ropey one on 17 up left of the green, gets up and down and makes 5 on the last or whatever, and goes in and he signs his scorecard, and Leggett is waiting for him afterwards, and he said, "Tiger, can I ask you a question?" He said, "Sure." He said, "What were you thinking when you hit that tee shot on 16, like 150 yards out of bounds?" And he looked at him and he said, "I don't get emotionally attached to any shot I hit." And he walked away. And the man was standing there like, what just happened? You know what I mean? And that's exactly it. Tiger, once the shot was done, he moved on. And that's the beauty of, you know, what we do in life. And it's golf is very similar to life. You know what I mean? You make your own road. You drive forward in the best way. You set up a career. You set up a path. And if you fall off the path, then you're not going to be successful. It's pretty straightforward. And same with golf. When you think that you're, you know, I tell you know, the kid that I'm working with, every time that you're not working at golf, there's somebody getting better than you. And it's the same in law. It's the same in anything else. If you don't practice it, what chance you have of succeeding or becoming the best at what you do?
Yeah, you know, I learned that lesson later in life. I wish I would have thought about it earlier. But you kind of answered this question, but I want to ask it to you again just to see if that is your answer. You know, now you're married, you've got a daughter. So what is that one lesson that you learned from your career in golf that you apply to your everyday life?
Yeah, like again, it's definitely just what I said. I mean, I wake up in the morning and try and do better every day. It doesn't matter what it's at. You know what I'm saying? And you know, if you're sitting around, like I don't like to sit around. I don't want to sit around. So, you know, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. And it's the most perfect saying in the world. You know, it's like if you have insomnia, if you don't sleep, what do you start thinking about? All the worst things in the world. And that's in anything. And for me, I just try and drive forward. You know, I try and do good. I try and, you know, provide for my family. I don't care how I provide for my family. I'm not too proud to do anything. I do everything. I am involved in. If I told you how many things I was involved in, you'd laugh. And my wife said the other day, somebody said, "Oh, what's your husband do?" And she said she didn't know what to tell him, and she couldn't spiel out like 12 different things. But like, I provide. I'm a provider, and that's what I'll do. I don't care. And I say to people all the time, you want to become successful, do something. You know, if your kids go to bed at 7 o'clock in the evening, drive an Uber. Drop food off. Right? You can't get successful by sitting on the couch watching TV, but I tell you what you can do. You moan all the time. You moan that your life isn't good. You moan that you don't get paid enough. Okay, that's fine. Get yourself a second job. Work harder. And that's it. I mean, I feel like I haven't got to the peak of where I want to get yet, but I work hard. And if I had this ethic now, back in the day when I was a golfer, if I knew now what I didn't know then, I tell you, I feel like I could have done so much better. But that's life. You learn. If you don't learn every day, you're wasting your time.
Well, you know, people didn't talk to us about this a lot when we were growing up, and you know, one of the things I look forward to, and I know you do as well, is I drive my son to school every morning, and we park and we walk in, and having that time in the car with him, that time in the walk, to be able to share this with him, you know, my journey now. I wish somebody would have told me at 8, 9, 10 years old and so forth growing up, because I might have approached things differently. But regardless, I know you're involved in a lot of charitable causes. I want to talk about some of those charitable causes that you're a part of, and why you're involved in those, and why it's important to be involved in those charitable causes.
I've always wanted to give back at the game. I watch TV and I see all these huge stars, and they give a golf ball to a kid, and it makes their day. Why don't you do that all the time? You don't pay for it. You don't get. When I used to go to these events, I used to take my bag and I used to give all the kids all the balls. Then I knew I was going to get more next week. Gloves, hats, everything. My wife couldn't believe the first time she came to a golf tournament with me. They don't cost me anything. You know, and you can give back. They talk about building the game, growing the game. It's easy to grow the game. Grow it by being kind and being nice to the kids. They're the people that, a couple of years ago, Arnold Palmer, when he was alive, had a meeting, and he said, to the pros, I shouldn't be having this meeting. You shouldn't be out working on your game in a Pro-Am, because all these Pro-Am people are paying your wages. And that's how you give back. And I've always wanted to give back. And a few years ago, I got a phone call that they were going to run a golf event in Ireland if I wanted to get involved. And at the time, it was for Autism Ireland, it was for Rainbow Club in Cork, and it was for Jim Kelly's son, Hunter's Hope. And then it was for a young boy that dropped dead on playing hurling as our national sport. He was young, 21 years old, just sudden heart. So these people, so they were trying to make money so that every person in Ireland as a kid can get scanned. It's pretty weird how it's come tenfold. My nephew, who's 11 last week, I think he's 11, and it doesn't matter, he got his heart tested through the company that I made help, donate to. And it's full circle. And for me, you can do so much. Like, I'm part of Kevin Ram's a very close friend of mine. He does a tournament in Jacksonville every year for St. Jude. And to sit there and to hear the stories and to watch the difference you're making by just being there and to help out, I mean, why wouldn't you do it? And we live in an area where you can make a difference. It doesn't take a whole lot to... It doesn't matter. We're fortunate enough to be in a good position in life. We worked hard. Some people weren't lucky enough to. Is there a time I can guarantee you, and I'll say it to you, you can look back in your life and say, man, you were young, single, whatever, going around the world, and you could have made a bad judgment call, and then you're on the streets. You're all on your own. Your parents have thrown you out, which I don't feel my parents, no matter what I did, would have thrown me out. But still, it happens. It happens. And for me to be able to make a difference, and I'm only knocking the top off of what can be done in this area. There's so many wonderful causes. I love children. It's my passion, and me and my wife would have had a lot if we could, and it just wasn't in our books. But we're very blessed to have a 6-year-old healthy little girl who does 16 hours a week gymnastics. I'll go back there again for you. There you go. But she loves it, and why should I stop her? I mean, it's a huge sacrifice for me and my wife. Like, when I look back at growing up in Ireland, my mom and dad, they sacrificed everything for me, but it was easy because I'd get in my bike and I'd go to the golf course, and that's where I was. Then if they went to school looking for me and I wasn't there, which happened a lot, they knew where to go to get me. And, it was, the greatest days of my life. There's no doubt in my mind it was the greatest time of my life. And like I've said to my wife every year, I want to go back to Ireland. I want to show Elle how I grew up. She's getting to the age now where she's understanding, she's learning, and I want to go back there and I want to show her how I grew up. I mean, even now, the beauty of the village I live in, if you know how to walk across the street and know how we call it the safe cross code, how the cars are going, you can do anything you want. You can take off and have fun and kick ball and do whatever. So for me, that's important, and giving back is what life's all about. And like, if I was ever to hit that jackpot in something, or be as big as any of these people that are on TV or anything, it's not that hard to give back, and a lot of them do, but there could be more done. Let's put it that way.
Not a lot of people I can say have played golf with a president. So tell us a little bit about playing golf with a president, because that's a small number of people that can say that.
Yeah.
Politics aside, regardless of your politics, being invited to play with the president's pretty cool. So talk to us about getting to play with the president.
Yeah, I played golf with him well before he was ever president. Him, Rocco, and David Frost, and we just became friends. I mean, he's kind to me, and when I'm there, he's asking about my family, how's my life, everything. And you know what? Kindness is what I care about. I don't really care, love him or hate him. I care about the person you are and how kind you are to me, pretty much how you treat me, and I've done always that. My dad said, treat people how you'd like your sisters to be treated, And for me, I've gone with that, and he's been kind to me. And a few years back, he's made me a golf ambassador, which I help do whatever for the golf. We travel to Ireland with members, and more recently, it's I actually played last Sunday with him, you know, and the scariness starts again Sunday. It's just a sad world we're living in now, you know, whether you're the president or you're not the president, it shouldn't be this way. And, you know, it's sad that the country has got to that. I don't think it should be that way. It's very divided, and it shouldn't be divided, you know. I don't know how they're going to stop it, because, you know, you have to live. Whether you're the president or you're not the president. Like people say, oh, he shouldn't be golfing. Why shouldn't he be golfing? He enjoys golfing. I mean, it's the one thing in his life he likes to do is golf. So why shouldn't he golf? Because, you know, and unfortunately, you can't live in a bubble. You can't live in a glass case. And so it's scary. I'd be very scared if I was him.
Yeah. Well, you know, one thing about that I think I've learned the most is, you know, you don't always have to be at work to be working, right? And so for me, going to the gym in the morning, you know, my morning routine of working out, of going in a steam room and a cold plunge, yes, I'm not in the office, but you better believe that in that time, I'm working on my mental strength in order to be stronger, to handle the challenges of the day, and to be able to, you know, approach work in a healthy way. So completely agree with you. You know, just because you're on a golf course doesn't mean that you're not thinking about important things and making important decisions, and sometimes that's where you find your solitude. That's where you find that strength out there. You know, it's that escape sometimes too, to help you like clear your mind. So that's what's been really important for me. And asking you that, what are the things that you kind of allow you to you know, prepare for a big event, or, you know, when you're doing a charitable cause, how do you find that?
I've got so much better at all that. I used to get very nervous. Like, I MC all these events that I run, and that for me, I didn't know how I was going to do it. Honest to God, you know, the nerves leading up to the first one I ever did.
But man, you're an easy guy to talk to.
I know, but still, you lock up a little bit. Like, it was a celebrity event that we did, so we had a lot. Jim Kelly was there, Alex Lifeson from Rush, Shooter McGavern was there. We had a lot of celebrities, and now I'm on the mic, and I'm on the mic the whole time. It's me, and you know. The only reason I did it is because I was saving, I can't remember what they said it was to get an MC. It was like 10 or 15 grand. And I'm like, why would we take 15 or 10 grand from these charities when I can do it for free? And I did. And I did it once, and I've done it twice. And, you know, it's like anything. And I feel like, again, the mind. You know, the mind. You know, people say, oh, you should think that everybody is naked in the crowd or something, that, you know, take your mind off of, you know, what you're doing or something. I can't remember what somebody told me, but, you know, there's a guy called Brezzy in Ireland this year. He said, I can't remember what he told me. I should be able to remember all these things. Take 3 deep breaths in and put 2 deep breaths out. And it actually, before I got the microphone, made me feel great. And it's power of the mind, you know, and I've got gradually better at public speaking. Talking on podcasts before, you wouldn't have got, even though I do know how to talk, but when the microphone used to come up in front of me, I'd get a little nervous. But I'm on Rocco's show all the time, and I'm on another, Keith Jones, another buddy of mine. Now, granted, it's not live, but it's on over the telephone or the Zoom call, but it's still fun, and you get so used to it. And sometimes there's no filter there, and I speak my mind, and some people don't like it, but that's life. You know, you don't have to like it. That's your opinion. And you should have your own opinion. You know, coming up with the political race that's coming up, that's your opinion. But I don't like people putting it in your face. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to litter it all over the place all day, every day. I love you're your own person. You do you. You don't need to put it all over social media every day that this is what you like. You know, so for me, I just give everybody, I don't judge anybody, do your thing. Just so I stay out of it. And that's pretty much what I try and live by.
Yeah. You know, how do you hope to inspire the next generation of golfers? I know you teach golf and you're around golf a lot. So how do you hope to inspire the next generation of golfers? And what advice did you give to young athletes, whether they're going into golf or into some other professional sport? What's that piece of advice that you'd give them?
Learn how to win. I said it to you before. Learn how to win. It's what it's all about. You know, I mean, there's a golf tour here in town called the Minor Leagues. It's on every single day, probably 5 days a week it's on. Learn to win there, because if you can't win there, guess what? You ain't winning anywhere else. And I'm not saying it's a bad tour, because there's a guy on there, Sonny Kim, has won over $375,000 on this tour because he's played so much of it. But it's here. He's competitive. He lives here, and that's golf. And that's, learn how to win. And if you're not working at it, somebody's getting better at it than you are, So that's pretty much the advice I have. Work, work, work. And if you don't work, well, then somebody's getting better than you are.
I love it. Can't not ask you about, tell us some of the best course. What's the best course you've ever played?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's some good ones, man. I've been very fortunate because of being friends with Rocco and having traveled with him, and a lot of the golf courses that I have frequented have got members that are, so I've been to a lot of places. Pebble Beach is hard to beat. Cypress Point, that area out there, it's God's country. But growing up in Ireland, like when I played 95% of the golf courses that are, top in the world in Ireland, the best in the Ireland, let's put it that way. And, it's my home course where I grew up. Is very hard for me to say anything negative about there. I love it. It's God's country. It's pure golf, great food, as they say, great crack in Ireland. Not the same crack as you have over here, but CRAIC, fun, and, great music, and people are very nice over there. And, the world could learn from the Irish people in the sense that, they drink a lot. Yeah, they do, but they're also pretty happy people. And, the sooner that everybody becomes happy and tries to help themselves out in life and be better and try and do the right thing, we could all learn from that.
Well, I think that's a great place to end. I want to thank you again for your time today and sharing your career with us, your life stories with us. I know I took a lot of inspiration from what you said today, so thank you again for your time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. We'll do it again.
Mark, thank you for sharing your incredible journey with us today. Your story is a testament to the power of persistence, staying true to yourself, and continually striving for growth. I know our listeners will walk away feeling inspired and ready to tackle their own challenges, whether on the golf course or in life. As always, thank you for joining us here on First Light. Until the next time, keep striving to be better today than you were yesterday.